Lee? Yes. Mr. Malcolm? Yes. Mr. McKenzie? Yes. Mr. Howard? Yes. Mr. Hart? Mr. Schwarzenegger? Mr. Giacomo? and Mayor Keith?
Ladies and gentlemen, I regret to inform that due to a technical difficulty and the location of our microphones, we were unable to capture the audio associated with Mayor O'Keefe swearing in new police officer Ryan Dunn. The audio will pick up shortly after everyone returns to their seats.
Formal signing. Congratulations, Ryan. You're welcome. Residents and taxpayers of the borough are permitted to comment on current matters of concern or agenda items which are before council this evening. If you would like to address Borough Council this evening, we ask that you please stand at the microphone, give your name, spell your last name, and give your address so you will be properly identified for the minute record. Each speaker will be limited to 5 minutes. And I believe we have some people who have signed up. Glenn Sovich. Over at the microphone, please.
Thank you guys very much. My name is Glenn Sovich. I'm running for magistrate here in the district. Just wanted to introduce myself to everybody. Been a policeman for 26 years in Ambridge, and would definitely support the guys, and I appreciate being here tonight on a night where I got hired a new officer. So appreciate your time. I don't think I'm supposed to be speaking, but I appreciate it. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you. Thaddeus Popovich.
My name is
You can move it down. There you go.
Thaddeus Popovich. I live at 1654 Stone Mansion Drive in Franklin Park. I'm not here to talk about the great thing you're doing in Lindbrook Park on Saturday, Earth Day, planting trees. Let someone else talk about that.
Okay.
But I plan on being there. Why I am here, I'm on the steering committee since it's about a year now, called the Southwest Pennsylvania Grassroots Town Halls. What's coming up is the 10th town hall, And we're focusing on rail disaster, the one that happened in East Palestine. And I don't know about you, but I've seen a lot of tank cars going by the convention center, and they're full of something. And what happened in East Palestine with the wheel bearing going could have easily happened further up the river through Conway Yard and so forth. So I just can't imagine it. So I'm going to read what you have in front of you. So on April 27th at 6 p.m. via a Zoom call that says you can register with that link. However, if you call Glenn Ulcerist of RP3 Rail Pollution Protective Pittsburgh, he can give you a link and he'll be happy to talk to you about it. And I can give you a link for it later on too. The first part of the town hall features Chief Darrell Jones, who heads the Pittsburgh Bureau of Fire and is the city's Deputy Emergency Management Coordinator. Chief Jones has spent years worrying about and preparing for potential rail disasters. In a talk that he will give, not if, but when, prepping Pittsburgh for an East Palestine event. He'll speak candidly about the risks and explain how his teams and will respond and coordinate with other agencies and resources. We all go into Pittsburgh, don't we, at some time or another. So I think it's should be our worry as well as Pittsburgh's worry. Time will be allowed for audience questions. The second section, rail disasters, improving our odds, reducing the impact, will be presented by RP3 co-founder Glenn Ulcerist, who is also their general counsel, and Barbara Tellerico and Larry Sims, who focus on research and strategy to the group. More oil and dangerous chemicals travel through our city, county, and region than almost any rail corridor in North America. RP3, a 1,000-member grassroots organization, has countered industrial rail expansion and worked to hold railroads accountable for more than a decade. For example, that rail line goes to the north side. They want the bridges raised so they can double deck the cars going to the north side of Pittsburgh. To do it, they offered to pay for the bridges the city owns. The city caved. So they're going to bring those same tank cars. They can double deck tank cars going through the middle of downtown Pittsburgh, which I just can't imagine that. Okay. RP3 tactics include grassroots campaigns, administrative litigation, injunctions, and court-ordained mediation to protect environmental justice neighborhoods. And of course, most of these rail lines go through environmental justice neighborhoods. People who can't move away, and they have issues because of that. The group specializes in highlighting rail safety feature points, state and federal action items, and its in-depth knowledge of Norfolk Southern policies and operators. I used to be a train buff. I like riding trains, passenger trains, not like a hobo. But I understand what the railroads are doing, especially Norfolk and Southern. They're buying back their stock. And that really improves the what the big guys and the stockholders can make. Meanwhile, they're not putting in enough money into infrastructure, if any and all. And that wheel bearing that went. We've been told by union people who work the trains, they've been told to cut back on their inspection time, for example. And they still have the Westinghouse air brakes that George Westinghouse invented. There are electric brakes now that are possible. They aren't part of the process on these trains. And I just can't imagine that wheel bearing failing right by the convention center coming into Pittsburgh. Am I finished? I'm finished. Thank you. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Thaddeus. Just by way of information, I'm sure you are aware of it, we do have an emergency operation plan and are acutely aware of that kind of scenario, given the fact that there are two interstates that split Franklin Park in half. So with lots of traffic on them. So thank you very much for the information. Appreciate it. And I can't quite read this name concerning Laverne David? No? Yes, no?
Yeah,
Laverne or Lorraine?
starts with an L.
What about the address?
Okay.
We have a phone number too. We need to call.
Regarding pickleball. Okay. There's also a Cheryl Johnson, is that? Okay.
Good evening.
Oh,
We're
yeah.
here-
Hey, we do one at a time though, just so.
Okay,
Make sure we keep
Name
things
it, name and
straight.
address, please.
Lorraine Diamond, 1801 Big Sky Lane. And Franklin Park, 1514. We're just here to hopefully open a discussion about pickleball in Orchard Park. We're asking for some reconsideration of using what we call Nerf ball, softer ball. I mean, just some thoughts that I have is I'm not sure that everyone understands that this is legitimately a sport. It's not something that you just play on the beach. Many of us spend a lot of our time and income traveling to tournaments and spending a lot of time really getting better at this sport. There are many professional tennis players that are converting to full-time pickleball as their sport of choice. It's not a beach game, and to play it with a softer Nerf ball definitely impacts your agility at the sport. It's all about feel, grip tension, and your ability to place the ball, and that all comes into play with what ball you are playing with. So, as residents of this community, it just feels a little bit like these decisions weren't made based on data and statistics. I'm not saying that people's feelings shouldn't be taken into consideration as part of the decision making, but it just feels a little lopsided. Like many of us residents and taxpayers who take this very serious. I personally travel all over the country playing in tournaments. And as a resident who pays taxes, it's just kind of frustrating that we can't play in a park that our tax dollars went into building. And it just seems like we should be able to come to some better compromise than we currently have today. So
Right.
that's why me and my friends are here.
Yeah, let me give you a little bit of background of our meeting earlier today. Council did review this situation once again. We've looked at pickleball now for 2 years, and it's been a challenge. We did reach a compromise last year, and it's proven not to be to the satisfaction of all involved, obviously. However, and we have received, and I was going to note that later in the day, we have received 10 emails from residents, 9 emails from residents and 1 from non-residents advocating the same thing you are presenting here tonight. Given all of that information and the new discovered fact that the quiet pickleball, if you will, is temporarily, at least we know, on back order, to say the least. We do have an existing supply. And eventually that may become an issue. So we've asked our recreation committee to once again take a look at potential options for that particular court. They are 2 beautiful courts that could be repurposed. There's a potential for that because they, by coincidence, are the same size as badminton courts, and badminton, while it's not popular in the United States, is the #1 family sport in the world. So I think at this point in time, full discussion and options are open. However, in the meantime, until that is further reviewed and looked at, we're going to maintain status quo, and that's required use of the softball for play at the Old Orchard, but for the full day between dusk and dawn. That was council's decision in the earlier pre-meeting this evening, and so you're welcome to continue to speak. The other two folks here are welcome to add their comments if you want, but that's where we are currently.
I'll just close with that's unfortunate, and it doesn't seem to really represent a lot of the community.
Can I respond to your comment about data and science and stats? You may be unaware, but we did do a pretty exhaustive sound study, which was certainly based in science. What they told us was because of the unique topography of the park, it is the sound at the edges of the park where the residents live. It's loud. It's over the ordinance level. What
is the ordinance level, may I ask, please?
I don't know off the top of my
Okay.
head.
Not gonna be over.
No, I mean, I am somewhat educated on this. I mean, the decibel level of a pickleball is 70, which is comparable to a bird chirping. But I do
They-
understand that it's more the constant
Repetitive.
pattern and the repetitive nature of it, and I fully acknowledge that.
We did ask the engineer also to look at any options that we had to reduce the sound. Many of the emails addressed various different options, fencing, coding, things like that. His conclusion was that because of the topography of the park, nothing could impact that sound because the residents' houses sit approximately 60 feet higher than the court. You'd have to have a 60-foot sound wall.
Was a dome considered at all?
I don't, no, not really. I mean, that would be pretty expensive. But like John said, we're willing to take a look at all options. We also talked earlier about future expansions in Blueberry, adding courts there. There has not been, to my knowledge, any kind of noise complaints over there. It's pretty far away from residences. So that may be a better option, but as John said, we're looking at everything.
And this is not just a local issue. This is a national issue that comes up in many, many places, many times. The sound is definitely real to those who listen to it.
Do you have any national statistics on how many times the resolution has involved not being able to use a pickleball at all? I do recognize that it is a noise issue, it is a national issue, but I've done research and have not found where there was a situation where the elimination of the pickleball altogether is a consideration.
Yeah, and you know, I think that the discussion here needs to take place at that rec committee. This is public comment, 5 minutes, public. We've got other people who have signed up. We have a couple other ones. Well, I got only 2 signed up. So, yeah, yes, but we do have other matters to get to. So let's go. So yeah, can't be a discussion. If you want to start your time and ask questions, we can move on that way. And I know
we certainly will
John
listen.
took up some of your time, so if you want another minute, we can yield to that, but this is not. Okay, wait, let's get to the microphone, introduce yourself. We have to do this. This is under the Sunshine Act, it's not our rules. This
Gotcha.
is state.
I'm Dave Moore. I'm at 1644 Oakleaf Lane. On Franklin Park or Pittsburgh 15237. I just want to ask you a question, John. When you said we're going to stay until we get a recommendation, I'm looking at it as May till September is the season. So is that what you just said, that this year is out for pickleball altogether? Or when is the deadline for the committee to report back?
There is no actual day commitment deadline. We've asked the Recreation Committee to take a look at it and to report back to us at our next meeting.
Which is,
Well, actually, the Parks and Rec Committee meeting will be on the 17th, which is the day of our next public meeting. So
okay.
That will be our, next.
May
public meeting.
17th.
That's, obviously I'm in favor for it. Yeah, the folks in the park, just seem to enjoy the park I walk there every day and the park became live. Just thought that, the knees were cut out from under us and I know you're dealing with it, but just a vote for allowing pickleballs. Thanks.
Hi, I'm Cheryl Johnson. I live in 2300 Salem Drive. I've been a resident of Franklin Park for over 20 years now. And I was a part of a meeting that happened about a month ago involving the community, neighbors, as well as pickleball players. And what we're trying to do is come up with a community compromise. So the purpose of today is to address that, is to look at a way that we can compromise as a community. You know, it's not us against them. It's not pickleball players against neighbors, but it's really understanding what's best for the needs of the entire community. And John, you had mentioned that you received several emails, and I know that there's a lot of people that have been interested in using this park for how it was designed to be used. The pickleball courts were built using our tax dollars. It's the fastest growing sport in the world, I think, but a lot in the United States. I don't know the exact stats on it or the badminton stats to back it up, but I do know that pickleball is a sport that we all really enjoy and want to be a part of. And so what I'm asking of this group is to consider and base decisions on some facts as well as the input from the community. And it sounds like you have the input for this, but I'd really like that to be considered as far as making decisions and to create some rules that can, benefit the community at large. So for example, what we're looking at, we understand, and I totally understand how the noise can be completely distracting. And I understand that there's some issues with that, but to come up with a way, that a park is, this was zoned to be a park. And as a park, there's going to be noise associated with that between kids and other sports as well as pickleball. And so really just looking for a way that we can compromise and come together as a community and be able to use the park for everybody, not just the pickleball players. We're willing to, come up with ideas that we can maybe use it for a shortened period of time so that it's not totally being disruptive to the neighbors. And that's what we're looking for you, the council, to be able to work those avenues. And we really would like to have some sort of timeline on this. We don't want this to be the summer is over before we come up with any kind of the compromise that benefits the community. So it's really something that we should use fact, community opinion, and all information to come together to understand what's best for Franklin Park as a whole. So thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Dave Johnson, 2300 Salem Drive. We did have a pickleball meeting a few weeks ago, and Mr. Parks asked us to submit a proposal with some ideas, and we did do that. I was wondering, were those considered for your meeting that you have today, the Recreation Board?
Yes, they were all distributed to all council, and there was a good discussion earlier this evening in that regard. And the decision is what I had explained to your predecessor, that for the time being, we're on hold with the compromise that was reached last year, and that further consideration has been forwarded to the Recreation Committee.
I would ask that all council get involved in this discussion. I know we had a pickleball meeting and only 2 of you showed up. I know some of my representatives were there at the beginning, but left before the meeting started. I just hope everybody's involved in this. I've heard statements tonight from you council folks that are just not true. And you guys are throwing things out like they're facts and they're not. So I hope everybody on council does their own due diligence and looks into this and realizes that just because somebody says it doesn't make it true.
And
Please think for yourself.
that there is an issue with the Sunshine Act, as we talked. If a quorum of council is meeting, it needs to be at an advertised public meeting. They can't deliberate or discuss with that. They can attend information sessions, receive information, but they can't go back and forth and can't deliberate outside of a public meeting.
Even
One of
for-
the concerns of having all council members in a meeting that's not advertised and not open to the general public.
I don't understand that. So for the meeting you held this afternoon, was that open to the public?
Yes,
Yes,
And did you advertise that?
yes.
yes.
Where was it advertised?
We do it in
On
the
the
Post
web.
Gazette. You advertise the annual schedule of meetings, any special meetings we have to advertise, and the agendas are all posted on.
To clarify, my mic.
I'm not sure. I don't.
So Mr. Schwartzmeyer, you
That's
told
the
me,
Sunshine Act.
you told me that this is not covered in the Sunshine Act. You're setting pickleball rules. Is it covered or is it not covered?
No, when you're discussing or learning information, if you're talking to one
When you're setting,
council
I'm saying
member,
specifically, when you set the rules for a foam ball, was that covered in the Sunshine Act or not?
that was a discussion that happened at a advertised meeting. I don't think in terms of an actual vote, but we do, reach consensus on the direction of posting times or the compromise that was struck. So there's no, motion to undo or motion to start. So they're different issues, but I'm just addressing, if you have a quorum of council members that's deliberating a discussion outside of a public meeting, that's a Sunshine Act violation, and explains why not everybody attends. And if people do attend, they are mostly listening rather than debating and deliberating.
One of the statements I heard was that the sound study violated the noise ordinance. Mr. Junker, could you comment on that?
Yes, the study that we received from Thornton Acoustical Associates indicated that when they went and did the measurements, it exceeded our sound requirements in our ordinance.
But doesn't the sound ordinance say that it has to be continuous sound above a certain decibel level for a period of 10 minutes? And then Mr. Parks and Mr. O'Keefe are the ones that told me it did not really technically violate that statute.
There's a number of statutes or ordinances that are
I'm sorry,
at issue.
it was ordinance from the
No.
Franklin Park Borough ordinance.
It was enough that it was an exceedance that showed that the first question of, are these generating noise, was established that yes, it was maybe 70. I don't remember the numbers off the top of my head, but it was enough that it was in exceedance of
The noise, but it
requirement.
didn't exceed the time for what's written in the ordinance. Isn't that correct?
Remember,
Okay.
It's been a while.
Okay, well, if you don't remember, I'll tell you myself. It does say it has to be a continuous sound for over 10 minutes. I think Mr. is looking it up now, but it has to be a certain decibel over a certain amount of time. It didn't do that. So it didn't violate the study, which is why the conversation is still going on, is because it didn't violate that. So that's why they're, solutions are trying to be discovered. If it was a breaking an ordinance, it would be flat out not allowed if something would have been done. So. And Mr. Parks, to your comment about it's a national problem, most of those problems are for townhouses where the courts are in the middle of a townhouse, and the townhouse is 50 feet away from the courts. So oftentimes the court cases I've seen, the solution was to move the courts 165 feet away from the houses, and that's settled it. These houses now from the neighbors are 400 feet away, like 3 times as far away. So it's not fair to say this is the same situation as you see nationally, because it's not.
Okay, thank you.
And I just want to further note one other
Oh,
thing.
no, sorry.
No,
We gotta move
a
on. We
no, I
have-
understand
sir?
that. The compromise that you said happened last year was not a compromise because pickleball players are unable to use the courts. So please stop
You
referring to
are
it as a
able
compromise.
to use it. It's with
Not-
different equipment.
But
So
it's not
a matter
But
of
it's not the pick sport.
semantics. I
Are you
guess.
asking basketball players to play with a normal?
You could.
Thank
you could.
Thank you for your
It's not
comments.
pickleball
I
anymore.
know you're not. Hard balls.
I don't think it's
Baseball.
an abuse of power. Really, you need to take the community.
You need to take the community
Ma'am, your
into
time is up.
consideration, not just a small subset of neighbors. And we rely on you as the council to represent our community, not just a subset of our community. That's what we're looking for you to do. So please think of it from that perspective. Thank you.
Thank you all very much. People don't.
Well, at least you want to read the names.
Okay,
I think we
sure.
have at least who provided written comments that were resident. Address for the meeting minutes.
No, same as I have.
Oh,
okay. The written comments to our public email was from Joanne Dumeyer. And then there were 5 residents who emailed one email for 5 residents on Oak Leaf Drive. They were Mr. Hartner, Hartner family, the Foodie family, and the Dumeyer family from Karen Drive, and Suzanne Gerard from Farmington Court. As indicated earlier, those emails were distributed to council and discussed, and council concluded that we were status quo and referred it again to the Recreation Committee. So the minutes of the March 15, 2023.
Mr. Parks?
No. You have to announce that they were received and they've been distributed.
Mr. President, I noticed a couple hands back there.
Sure. Yes.
Great, thank you. Kevin Wozniak, I live at 2427 Bellwood Drive, neighbor to the Borough building. So maybe I'll start with saying, longtime listener, first time caller here. So I appreciate the time. I've lived in the Borough since 2010. My first home, moved in with my wife, lived here for 10 years. I just want to, first and foremost, recognize council and the mayor for all the great work, great policies put forward to make our community what it is today. Especially when I recognize the mayor. I don't think we could find a better advocate for the borough than Mayor O'Keefe. Thank you. I appreciate the fact that you've built a community that we can all be proud of in Franklin Park. Part of this, civic pride resonates, well into our neighborhoods, well into our streets, and through every member of the borough. For the past 10 years, I've invested time, effort, and significant money to beautify my property. Early on, I realized that there was a predator to all of my investments, the PA white-tailed deer, who we all know. So I've shifted, right? Like any person will do, you learn from your mistakes and you shift. So I stopped with the hospices, I stopped with the tulips, and I've shifted to more deer-proof type vegetation. I call it vegetation, that's no pun intended, around my property. Even that doesn't suffice. I've invested money into deer-proof shrubbery. I've invested money into liquid fence to try to deer-proof my home, and it's a battle I simply cannot win. The problem, quite candidly, since I've been in the borough for 10 years, is only dramatically worsened. It's a topic of every single neighborhood get together. I don't know about your neighborhoods, but down on Bellwood, it is running rampant, and it's something that we simply can't ignore. I would say the good news to this is the deer have become our neighbors. I think we're all good neighbors in Franklin Park, and I'm not exaggerating this at all, but they join us on our evening walks on our sidewalks. I could probably everyone in this room has seen a deer on a sidewalk. 2 weeks ago, we're hanging out in my neighbor's garage, and like my children, they're unfazed and unafraid by me and any other humans that come up to them. I'm a trained financial professional. I know a bad investment when I see one, and I dump it. After a decade of fighting, I simply have given up. I'm proud of my neighborhood. I'm proud of my community. I'm proud of my property, but I simply can't invest money into a fight that, I am not able to win. Many of my neighbors have made similar comments, and they're doing the same, limiting or all by ceasing their investments in their properties. The pride to beautify in our neighborhoods is destroyed by an invasive predator that we allow to run rampant in our borough. The result is property values that decline, the neighborhoods become less attractive, and businesses lose out on revenues. Candidly, I no longer go to Kalen's to get my daisies. I no longer go to Sorgel's to get my hostas. It's not simply a beautification problem, property value problem, but it's an economic problem for the borough. I implore council to take up on your agenda this issue. It's, inaction or no discussion around this is a decision, and it's an action. This is a item that we can control, and decisive action by council is what is needed. So I'll finish by saying I implore council to take this matter up, actively discuss, and make decisions to protect the community that all of you have so thoughtfully and worked hard to produce and protect. I appreciate the time and effort.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Wozniak, I'll respond really quick. Thank you for bringing that up. We historically have employed a company called White-tailed Deer Management to help control the deer population. We were not happy, obviously, with their performance recently. So we are looking at other options, including hunting borough property. But we are aware of the problem, and and ancillary tech problem that it creates. Thank you for pointing that out.
Okay, treasurers,
One hand raised on Zoom.
Hazel.
Bruckner.
okay.
No comment?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Super. My name is Mark Pruckner. I'm the son of Len and Hazel Pruckner at 1528 Sandhurst Drive. And they've asked me to speak on their behalf tonight. So couple questions regarding the wireless communications towers. And I was wondering what the timeline looks like right now as far as the next meetings and decisions to be made by.
Sorry, sir. I mean, if you're not a resident or taxpayer, we don't entertain public comment by proxy or otherwise, but I mean,
My father is down here with me in Florida, but he has hearing and communication problems.
okay.
So is there a way that would I need him to email you or call you in order to be able to communicate with you?
There is a public comment email address that is available as we usually list, but we do distribute those comments to all members of council, even though we don't read them verbatim here. We do acknowledge the receipt, the address, and the name for the purpose of the meeting minutes. So that is one option.
So he would be able to receive written answers if he submits written questions?
Not typically, I mean, it's for public comment, but for other just inquiries or discussions, you don't have to go through this formal process. This is a Sunshine Act process to receive information from members of the public. So if there are specific questions, to pass them on to staff or otherwise, there is a number of information sources on the webpage regarding upcoming meeting agendas and topics for discussion. But
That kind of led to me zooming in because we've been following, they'll be back there in a month and I'm sure they'll show up in person. But last month, their Tyler Cole meeting that occurred on March 15th at 6 p.m. was only announced 24 hours in advance. So they didn't have, they didn't see it in 24 hours before, so we missed watching it, which is one of the reasons for my question about getting a timetable for the future so we can be more in tune with the meetings. And then also to ask if there is a link to the Zoom recording so we could watch that meeting that had occurred.
Well, yes, there's information on the webpage. The schedule is advertised at the beginning of the year. Any updates are posted otherwise. But 24 hours in advance is when the agendas are posted. So you do need to look within that window.
Is there a way to view that meeting via the Zoom recording?
I don't think the committee meetings are recorded. We just started rebroadcasting voting meetings like tonight, and it has not been extended to every single pre-post or committee meeting.
So there would be minutes on that meeting that will be posted in the future?
I don't know about minutes if there are no action items, so typically not.
Okay, I guess just then the last item would be, he was wondering where the actual location at Clover Hill would the tower be placed?
I think it's all premature. There have been no decisions or anything to report in that nature.
Do you plan it? I'm sorry?
You can feel free. I know that your parents live in my ward and Mr. Park's ward and our neighbors of the mayor. You can feel free to email any of us your questions and we'll be happy to respond.
Super. That'd be, and who would that be? I'm sorry.
This is Luke Mislinski. So it would be me or Mr. Parks or Mr. O'Keefe or all of us together.
That'd be wonderful. Thank you. Thank you for that.
Sure.
You.
All right. That's all I have. Thank you. And one of the great things I know that they feel is the responsiveness of the committee and of Franklin Park government. So thank you for the time tonight.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other hands up? Mr. Knock. Okay. The minutes of the March 15th. I did that, right?
No,
No,
we haven't got there
22, 23,
yet.
pre-meeting, the March 15th, 2023 regular meeting and the April 5th, 2023 work session minutes were given to mayor and council. Are there any additions or corrections?
Mike is either off or. I know you're talking into him.
It's on.
He was talking, he was talking right into him.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's on.
Shout.
Mhm.
Do I need to repeat that for you, Kathy? Are we good? Okay. All right. All right, can we have motion number one?
Move the minutes of the March 15th, 2023 pre-meeting, the March 15th, 2023 regular meeting, and the April 5th, 2023 work session be approved.
Second.
Any comment? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Treasurer's financial report.
Thank you, Mr. President. General fund revenues for the month of March totaled $760,028. Year-to-date total revenues are $1,851,933, which represents about 16% of the 2023 total budget. Conversely, for the month of March, general fund expenditures totaled $559,712. Year-to-date total expenditures are $1,877,071, which represents approximately 14% of the 2023 total budget. That concludes my report, Mr. President.
Move the March treasurer's financial report be accepted as read.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Police report, Mayor O'Keefe.
Yes, Mr. President, for the month of March, our Franklin Park Police had 736 calls, resulting in 14 arrests, 1 DUI, 1 simple assault, 2 retail theft, 1 identity theft, 1 aggravated assault, 3 harassment, 1 driving under suspension, 1 theft from motor vehicle, 2 noise ordinances, and 1 dumping. We issued 892 citations and warnings. We had 248 warnings. And we had 1 special response team detail resulting from the incident in Millvale. And I also want to add to that, just to let the additional information that there's always a concern. We all have concerns now about our schools and what's going on there as far as our activity. And so there what's going on is that we had if there's in the event of any incident at North Allegheny schools, our officers, along with officers from the surrounding agencies, perform walkthroughs of our schools. While school is in session in the morning, the officers meet at the office and walk through the interior of the school. The program has been very well received among the staff at the schools as well as the officers. So we do what we can to make sure we officers have are very familiar with the schools. And also, so the students too, they're able to see these police officers, and it makes them familiar also, and makes a safe environment for them. Officer Keaton Moni received a $10 Starbucks gift certificate located as a result of her locating a pair of Apple AirPads that were lost by a resident on King Edward Drive. And a resident donated a check for $200 to the department for Officer Latimer. He assisted that particular person with a return of his firearm. And another resident donated a check for $500 to the police department. This resident does this every year, and there's no particular reason, just wants to support the police. And both of these checks were given to the treasurer for the deposit into the borough funds. And we also received many thank you cards and notes in the police department, which is wonderful because it's great to appreciate and support our police. And officers Keaton Moni and Brittany Smith are in the process of becoming CPR first aid instructors. They have taken all the coursework and training necessary so far. They now need to be observed instructing a class by the Allegheny County CPR coordinator before they can instruct on their own. And that completes the police report, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mayor O'Keefe.
Recommend the police report be filed with the police secretary.
Fire report, Mr. Mizlinski.
Thank you, Mr. President. For March 2023, the fire company responded to 23 emergency calls, 5 alarm system activations, 4 dispatched and canceled en route, 3 brush fires, 2 carbon monoxide detector activations, 2 vehicle accidents with general cleanup, 2 windstorm damage and cleanup, 1 extrication of victim from vehicle, 1 passenger vehicle fire, which was destroyed, 1 malicious mischievous fire alarm pull, 1 flooding assessment and mitigation, and 1 no incident found. The fire company was assisted by other fire companies 5 times, and we assisted other fire companies 4 times. Year-to-date fire calls are 61. For the month of March, the fire company expended 530 volunteer man hours. Year-to-date, 1,503 volunteer man hours. End of report, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Mizlinski. Building inspector's report, Mr. Phillips.
President, construction report for March 2023, 25 permits were issued for the month. 4 were single-family dwellings, 2 remodels, 5 decks, 3 fences, 1 shed, 3 outbuildings, 7 miscellaneous permits. March total value of construction was $1,687,519. Total fees collected for the month, $7,340. Report, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Phillips. Borough Council held an executive session on March 15th, 2023 to discuss list potential litigation and a police grievance and a personnel committee. And the personnel committee held an executive session on April 19th, 2023 to discuss the FLMA policy, caregiver leave policy, employee handbook amendments, and the general employees pension plan amendments. Old business, none. New business, motions, please.
Council authorized the payment of the bills which has been reviewed and approved since the last meeting.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Mr. Yunker, would you summarize resolution number 1326-2023?
Certainly, this is resolution number 1326 of 2023. It is a resolution of the Borough of Franklin Park, Allegheny County, Pennsylvania, authorizing the submission of a grant agreement to the Department of Conservation and Natural Resources for the update to the 2015 Borough Comprehensive Recreation Park and Open Space Plan.
Move to adopt resolution number 1326-2023 for the submission of a DCNR grant application to update the 2015 Borough Comprehensive Recreation, Parks, and Open Space Plan.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Mr. Yunker, would you summarize resolution number 1327-2023?
Yes, resolution number 1327 of 2023 is a resolution of the Borough Council of the Borough of Franklin Park, Allegheny County, Pennsylvania, authorizing the submission of a grant application to the Department of Conservation and Natural Resources for the Lynbrook Disc Golf Improvements and Expansion Project.
Move to adopt resolution number 1327-2023 for the submission of a DCNR grant application, the Lynbrook Disc Golf Improvements and Expansion.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Mr. Yunker, would you summarize resolution number 1328-2023?
Yes, resolution number 1328 of 2023 is a resolution of the Borough Council of the Borough of Franklin Park, Allegheny County, Pennsylvania, authorizing submission of a grant application to the Department of Conservation and Natural Resources for the Blueberry Patch Playground Replacement Project.
Move to adopt resolution number 1328-2023 for the submission of a DCNR grant application for the Blueberry Patch Playground replacement.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Mr. Yunker, would you summarize resolution number 1329-2023?
Yes, this is resolution number 1329 of 2023. It is a resolution of the Borough Council of the Borough of Franklin Park, Allegheny County, Pennsylvania, authorizing the submission of a grant application to the Department of Conservation and Natural Resources for the Blueberry Hill Park Property Acquisition Project.
Move to adopt the resolution number 1329-2023 for the submission of DCNR grant application for the Blueberry Hill Park property acquisition.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Mr. Yunker, would you introduce ordinance number 676-2023?
Yes, this is ordinance number 676 of 2023. It is proposed ordinance of the Borough Council of the Borough of Franklin Park, Allegheny County, Pennsylvania, repealing and restating Chapter 19 in the Code of the Borough of Franklin Park, Claims Municipal, adopting a schedule of attorney fees in connection with the collection of taxes, tax claims, tax liens, municipal claims, and municipal liens pursuant to Act 1 of 1996 and Act 20 of 2023, adopting a schedule of charges, expenses, and fees pursuant to the municipal claims and tax liens laws, and repealing any other ordinances inconsistent herewith. This will be advertised for action at the May regular meeting.
Thank you.
May I ask, is this Act 20 of 2023 or 2003?
Oh, 2003. Yes.
Okay.
Sorry.
Move to ratify the hiring of Catherine Manorino as receptionist general assistant effective April 17th, 2023 at a rate of $42,000 per year.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Move to accept the notice of retirement from Tara A. Roth, Building Inspection / Zoning Secretary, effective May 31st, 2023.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Move to ratify the hiring of Ariane and Rice Tenant as Building Inspection Zoning Secretary effective April 17th, 2023 at the rate of $42,000 per year and accept resignation effective April 18th, 2023.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Move to ratify the promotion of Donna Platt, Administrative Assistant to the Borough Manager, effective April 17, 2023, at a rate of $59,000 per year.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Move to authorize the purchase of a Greens Pro 1260 roller for the Clover Hill Golf Course from E.H. Griffith Incorporated of Pittsburgh, PA 15218 under the Omnia National Contract number 2017025 at a cost of $16,812.90.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Move to authorize the purchase of a Jacobson HR 600 rotary mower for the Parks Department through Baker Vehicle Systems of Macedonia, Ohio, under Omnia National Contract number 20470 at a cost of $92,862.75.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Move to announce the 2023 scholarship recipients.
Second.
Any discussion? And yes, please.
We
You want to move?
Okay.
Ask to vote first.
Okay.
Who knows? It's, you know. Bam.
I guess there's no further discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
So the are Ryan Day of North Alabama, Ian Ellis of Clarence County, Sophia Duar of North Alabama, Sophia College of North Alabama, Braden Kushner of North Alabama, Sophia Nyonzo of North Alabama High School, Sierra O'Neill of North Alabama High School, Anshul Shah of North Alabama High School, Taylor Supich of North Alabama High School, and Eric Padilla.
Thank you.
Move the treasurer's office be authorized to prepare a check in the amount of $90,784.75 payable to Northland Library for the second quarter payment of 2023.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Proclamation.
Somebody to read it?
Read the whole thing. The Mayor gonna read it. It's my honor. Amy Steele, thanks for being here. My honor to read the proclamation for the National Library Week, 2023. A lot of whereases in here, so. Whereas today's libraries are more about what they can do with and for their communities, not just about what they have on their shelves. Whereas libraries have long served as trusted institutions, often the heart of their cities, towns, schools, and academic campuses. Whereas libraries serve people of all ages, interests, and backgrounds, providing the resources and space to engage in lifelong learning. Whereas libraries offer equipment and professional staff support to utilize technology, programs and services, often free or with nominal charges for the users. Whereas libraries are a resource for all, regardless of race, ethnicity, creed, ability, sexual orientation, gender identity, or social economic status. Whereas we recognize librarians as information professionals who provide expertise, services, and guidance for patrons to access credible sources of material, making their own information decisions about the world today. Whereas libraries provide access to the display a wide range of information, not just the majority opinion or single perspective. Whereas librarians hold the professional values of diversity, equity, and inclusion to meet the needs of all users. Whereas the PA Forward Literacy is Power initiative highlights how librarians and staff encourage literacy in basic information, civic and social, health, and financial, which contributes to the greater personnel and community success. Whereas America is celebrating National Library Week, including April 25 as National Library Workers Day, and the immeasurable contributions made by library workers, April 26th as National Outreach Day, showing librarian services are not limited to their physical locations. And April 27th as Take Action for Librarians Day, encouraging community support for libraries. Now, therefore, be it resolved that we, the Borough Council of the Borough of Franklin Park, proclaim April 23rd through April 29th, 2023 as National Library Week. During this week, we encourage all residents to visit our libraries and expose all that they offer to help move PA forward. This is proclaimed this 19th day of April, 2023. And thanks for all you do, Amy. And all your, but that's the proclamation, Mr. President.
Thank you,
Move
Mayor
move
and Amy.
Go ahead. Move to proclaim the week of April 23rd through 29th, 2023 as National Library Week for all the whereases that Mayor O'Keefe has just read.
Repeat them again.
Second.
I hear a second.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Move Greg Gorman be appointed to the Recreation Board to fill the unexpired term of Christine Hewitt, which term will expire December 31st, 2024.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Move the following 2023 spring commodities bids be awarded as submitted to the SHA Purchasing Alliance for its bid opening on March 16, 2023, as set forth in the agenda.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Move the set aside agreement in the amended amount of $230,320 for the Bliss Residential Land Development be increased by $18,560 to $248,880 in accordance with a letter from Lennon Smith Solray Engineering, Inc., dated April 11th, 2023.
Second.
Any discussion?
Yeah, Kevin, could you just give us a brief update of why we're increasing?
Yeah, the developer did request a reduction. In reviewing his reduction, it was noted based on the developer's agreement, the last 2 years, because the project hasn't been completed in a time frame identified, 2 10% increases were applicable. So the bonding table was updated. So decrease for the wearing course was incorporated, but then the 2 10% increases. So you therefore end up with an increase in the bond instead of a reduction.
Thank you.
Mr. President, just want to say, consistent with my earlier statement, I'm recusing myself from voting on anything to do with Bliss Development.
Okay. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Mr. Yunker, could you summarize resolution number 1330-2023?
Yes, this is resolution number 1330 of 2023. It is a resolution of the Borough Council of the Borough of Franklin Park, Allegheny County, Pennsylvania, declaring certain personal property of the borough as surplus and authorizing its disposition by electronic auction sale.
Move to adopt resolution number 1330 of 2023, declaring a 2017 Ford Interceptor SUV. Last 4 digits of VIN number are 6681 as surplus personal property, declaring the estimated fair market value over $2,000, authorizing the sale and disposition by electronic auction sale on Monday, May 22nd, 2023 at 12:00 p.m. prevailing local time on the Municipbid online auction. And there's the website, https municipbid.com, and directing the secretary to advertise the sale.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Move to enter into a lease agreement with DLL Finance LLC to lease 2 club car tempo walks, electronic caddies during the months of May through October for the Clover Hill Golf Course, cost of $338 per month for a 4-year period.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Move to appoint David Schweitzer to the Technology Advisory Committee to fill the unexpired term of Craig Dean, which term will expire December 31st, 2024.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Move to hire Jim Benner as assistant to the golf course manager effective April 28th, 2023 at a rate of $65,000 per year, pending successful completion of all required testing.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Mr. Yunker, would you introduce ordinance number 677-2023?
Certainly, this is ordinance number 677 of 2023. It is an ordinance of the Borough of Franklin Park, Allegheny County, Pennsylvania, authorizing the condemnation by eminent domain of real property for municipal purposes. This will be advertised for action at the May 17th, 2023 regular meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Yunker. Now, open for comments, Mr. Ebner.
No comments, Mr. President.
Mr. Yunker.
Just to congratulate Tara on her well-earned retirement and to congratulate Donna on her well-earned promotion.
You. Mayor O'Keefe.
Dittos to Max welcome to Ryan Dunn as our new officer, and thanks all of you for coming and participating with us tonight.
Mr. Pallad.
Yeah, just to piggyback up what the mayor said, and also just wanted to wish a community group called Brainstem Learning best of luck. They are at the World Robotics Championships in Houston. They encompass a lot of NA students, so it is definitely a testament to the region and the school district.
Thank you. Mr. Malcolm.
I join in congratulations for the retirement and the promotion, and nothing further.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Myslinski.
Thank you. I would also like to thank Tara Roth for her years of service and hope that she has a wonderful retirement. Congratulate Donna for her promotion and welcome Officer Dunn.
Thank you. Dr. Lee.
No further comment. Thanks.
Mr. Schwartzmeyer.
Yes, what I'd like to do is thank our Public Works Department and our volunteer fire company for all the work during we had two pretty good storm weekends, one right after another, and I happened to see the fire department out on Brand School Road, during the one, and John Parks out there directing his traffic on his work, but I saw throughout the whole borough, the amount of additional cleanup that was done. And I think Gary even reported at the last meeting that the brush cleanup this spring is going to take a little bit longer because there was a lot of brush that just happened to fall right prior to that cleanup beginning. So I know the crews have been seeing bigger piles as they're going through. So I thank both groups for what they did the day of the events and then the subsequent cleanup.
Thank you, Tom.
Sure.
Mr. Giacomo. Thank you. Mr. Brett.
Nothing additional.
Let's see who we got here. Chief Lieutenant. Thank you. Mr. Buchanan.
I'd like to wish Tara Roth well on her retirement. And I'd like to thank Mr. Mark for what he said about that. We did have we finished up our shipping. We did have a couple of days out to do it. It was pretty intense this year from the amount of storms we had. That's all I have.
Thank you. Building Inspector, Mr. Phillips. Recreation Program Director, Mr. Brown. This is great. Thank you. Okay. Once again, we'll open it up to if there's any final public comments. Seeing none. Oh, yeah. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. We have a planting taking place this Saturday morning in Lynbrook Park along Big Swiggly Creek. A little background. This is a project through Penn State Extension Master Watershed Steward Program of Allegheny County. It started last spring. The coordinator of the program also happens to be a Franklin Park resident, and therefore I report to her because I'm a Master Watershed Steward. And she had put together a program with Borough and was getting some grant funding to help with that. And I asked if we could include Franklin Park as well. She agreed to do so. So a Stream Smarts program was created. It was a series of 4 webinars. I believe we had 15 registrants for that. And there were 3 field days. One was last fall at Big Swiggly Creek, where the participants in the program were actually doing some sampling in Big Swiggly Creek, test the stream health. There was a riparian buffer planting last Saturday in Borough Park, and we have one taking place this Saturday from 9 to 12 again in Lynbrook Park along Big Swiggly Creek. If you've driven by in the last week, you've seen flags there. We have 251 trees and shrubs we're planting, and each tree and shrub has been marked at the location where it will be planted. We have, as I understand it, 30 volunteers, which is many volunteers, frankly, for a tree planting. I've been asked to bring coffee and donuts, so I won't be going on the road tour. I'll simply be delivering coffee and donuts for the road tour and then heading over to Lynbrook Park. What the borough will then contribute is our parks crew will be fencing in each of the 251 plants starting next week to protect them from deer. And we'll be placing at least one sign along the riparian buffer thanking Penn State Extension for their effort, and also thanking the Foundation for, I'm not sure it's Foundation for Clean Water. It'll be correct on the sign. The folks who gave Penn State Extension the grant will be thanking them as well formally on a sign at the riparian buffer. So it's 9 to 12 this Saturday. We have 30 volunteers. If you still wanted to come out, I think you could, but I think 30 is a good number for planting 250 plants, so we should have it all done by noon.
One further comment on that, I will be asking council after this meeting. Our pre-meeting went beyond the start of the public meeting time, so we're going to be continuing it afterwards. But I will be asking council members to perhaps join Reach after the road tour Saturday morning, which begins at 8, and perhaps plant a tree with us at 9 o'clock. And I know Mr. Popovich is going to be there too. So I think we'll see what happens. Andy, any hands raised on Zoom? Okay, motion to adjourn, please.
So moved.
Second.
Motion. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everybody. Nice to see folks here.